What's up, everybody? Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Kart Smart TV. I have a customer that dropped me off a limo, as you'll probably see at the start of this video. It is a Precedent club car. It's all decked out in your normal stuff you do to a limo, with the diamond plate on the side, a little wheel there to make it pop a little bit. Good clean seats. It's a decent cart. It's the 6-8 volts. The batteries are definitely done in this golf cart. They are 2018s. That's one of the things that the customer wants done. Well, this customer decided that instead of staying DC, they're going to go AC. With the 600 amp controller and the 5 kW, the 5 kilowatt motor. So this is going to be a super beast once I get done. And I'm going to do everything I can to show you guys how I get this done. Alright guys, like I was saying, customer is swapping everything to AC driven stuff. And we're going to go ahead and put new batteries in it as well. And so we got to get these out. I need them to be out anyhow, because I'm more than likely going to have to pull our controller and solenoid mounting bracket forward here to be able to get to everything I need to remove it. And so let's get started. Alright everybody, so be mindful. If you're doing this yourself, you're going to want to take a lot of pictures of what you've got in here, so that way when you go to rewire this back up, you've got a reference to go back to. Alright guys, be a good time to get any of the trash that you might see that's blown in here or been put down in here. Any acid that's built up like that. It's a good little chunk of nasty acid there. At this point, I mean, if you really wanted to, you could take and get a good wash down inside, because now you're not going to hurt anything electrically. Also, you're going to want to get your battery hold downs, and I'd probably take a wire brush and knock all this acid off and all the rust that's off of it here as well, just so that it will stop eating away at the metal. Knocked as much of the junk off of it as I could, and got my surfaces where when it pulls on the bar down below the battery box, that's the spot that we want to keep nice and clean so that it will not continue to eat away at it. Alright, so now I'm going to work on getting the controller out of here. Okay, so to get this out, you're going to unplug your main harness. You're going to unplug the communication harness, and then your forward and reverse, 2 small wires. Then you're going to take your high amp cables off, and then you only have 1, 2, 3 that will take it off your plate right there. And I'm going to focus next on getting our solenoid out. Okay guys, so there's our solenoid, and so all you do is unplug your activation wires, then you take the main contact wires off, and then to remove it from your plate, it will actually just slip out, because this just goes in and clicks into a couple of little places on the back side of your mount over there, and so that's out of your way too. Alright guys, so here we have an empty mounting plate for all our new stuff, which we have here. We have our controller, we have our mounting plate, all the connections for your phases, speed sensor, communication, all that good stuff, and then we have our on the fly kit here. This customer stated they wanted the kit, And then we have our battery cables and cables that feed to the controller. And so the controller comes with an installation booklet. Okay. Very, very important that you keep this while you're doing this conversion, because they give you very detailed instructions. Like I said, I've done this before with several carts now, and I'm pretty familiar with the way it works. But for you guys' sake, I'm going to go right by the way this says to do. And then, of course, first of all, you got to get your mounting plate into the position that it will bolt up in, which it comes with its own little instruction pamphlet as well. So be sure that you are reading this and making sure that you're using the proper area here, because this plate will bolt right back to that original mounting plate, that one there. Alright guys, so it's going to be hard to see, but there's the plate for the controller. And a little tip here is that this here is your OBC, onboard computer system. You have to remove this bolt right here from the OBC. That way your mounting plate can fit where it's supposed to, according to where the manufacturer wants you to put the bracket. So just a little quick tip there. Alright, so the next step would be to get the controller mounted to the mounting bracket. And so they send you with 4 of these little 8mm bolts, and the mounting plate is pre-threaded for this. So once you get your plate mounted, give you the proper torque spec for all your bolts here on the controller, so that it doesn't overdo it and possibly pull out places where you stick your bolts in. They're bungs, that's what they call them. Now it's time to start getting all the other stuff ready to hook back up, like get our motor wires, the W, the V, and the U. I am going to go ahead and pull the new wire and cable through that attaches to the motor. Alright guys, so here we are with the solenoid got installed here. That's going to be the final piece to the electrical puzzle here. A couple of self-tapping screws right into the bracket where the old solenoid just pops in. Nothing special. It will do the job just fine. It's definitely not going anywhere. The old connection for the solenoid on the old one had one small female and one large female. So you have to cut the small one off so that it'll match up to the large side here. On both male spades on this is the large side. So we have gotten our speed sensor and motor temperature communication wires hooked up from the motor to the controller, and this customer opted to go with the on-the-fly programmer as well, and so we've got that routed in down through our little opening here and back through. At this point you're going to want to open up this area right here behind the controller, because now, alright everybody, so it's time that out. Be sure you unhook your speed sensor from the motor, all 4 cables from the motor, and then typical of the Club Car, they put a support bolt right here, which is fine. Alright, once you get that bolt out, you're going to see right up there is an 11mm bolt. We got to get that out. Another 11 right there. Alright, I got it loose. This next part I'm definitely going to have to do off camera, but you grab this bad boy with both hands, give it a little wiggling and a shaking, and try to get it to slip off. Hopefully it'll just slip right off of there for you. And it's really, really heavy, so just be prepared to basically catch it with nothing but arm strength here. There's the old motor. It's just something about that. It certainly is pretty. So you can tell that that's considerably larger than our OE motor. So what may have to take place here is sometimes we have to move the shock out of the way, and you just unbolt it, and I think you can push it up out of the way and it will flex back and forth or forward and backwards as much as you need it to. Just unbolt it, put your hardware back, slap your nut back on, and this way it gives you the chance to move it any direction a little bit at a time, so that way you can get old big block in there. So they provide you with some rings, one on this side and one on that side. It just spun on me, and it's going to be very, very much needed to use, and it'll probably take two of you to do it. What I've done is I take straps, your normal ratcheting straps, and if I end up having to do it by myself, I get it to where I can get it hanging good and it's balanced, and then I'll ratchet it a little bit up here and then go down there and check slowly. But with two people, one person can start pushing as the other one's pulling with the straps to help get it into position, and then you just slip it back on the input shaft and put your bolts in. They do send you hardware, new hardware with it.
Hey guys, Crystal here. Just wanted to interrupt your video for a second to tell you that our brand new website is live, mygolfcartshop.com. The link is in the description below, or you can go to our profile on YouTube. And there's a coupon code for you just waiting in the description box. Go get you some money saved.
But yeah, just be safe, because these things are really, really heavy, guys. Still a nope. Just kind of gives you the scale of how much heavier the AC drive is, but it is going to be way, way, way more efficient. Alright guys, there it is. Got our bolts back in. You're definitely going to want to put these rings on here, 100%. They were such a big help in trying to get this thing lifted up here. And having that second person also is a big help, because we was able to do this right here. Run it through this safety bar right here. And we was able to pull straight down. And that gave us a bunch of leverage on the motor. So the guy at the bottom, which was me, was able to just very easily get up under it, because he was able to put enough leverage on it from here to lift it off the ground a little bit. And once he started lifting, I just went to pushing and went right on up there. He just kept it guided up good and straight, got it slip on, and that's all she wrote. So, you know, hopefully this will help give you all a little tip of getting these things in and out when you're doing these conversions like this. Alright, so now it's time to get all these cables hooked up. Got our phase cables there that we got to get hooked back to the controller and all that good stuff. And you want to make sure that you follow this direction booklet 100% to the T, because if you miss one of these wires on here or put one in the wrong place, it's not going to be a happy day. So just follow this right here. I'm going to get these cables hooked up for you guys, and then I'll come back and show it all to you. Alright guys, so there's our first cable. Going to get hooked to the U on the motor. It's going to get hooked to the U phase. And then our white cable here is going to get hooked to the V phase. And then you have a cable that hooks from the controller to the motor that is provided in the kit. That will be your W phase. A little hard to see there probably. And then they give the cables provided here to plug into the controller for communication purposes. Okay, so once you get your wires hooked to your motor, you're going to get them brought around, run through the space here, and put them to their corresponding letters on the controller. It is time for you to be able to flip this thing back up and get it back in its slot, and then your bolt back on, because that's going to give you the room you need to plug in your main harness to your controller here. So that's what we're going to do now. So we're going to get this thing put back into position and get this plug back up, and we're well on our way to being done, guys. Alright guys, so when you're reinstalling the bracket that attaches to the golf cart itself that holds all your electronics, you're going to run into it hitting your cover support right here. Okay, so what I did was, and this is something you don't get told that you need to do when you upgrade to AC, because the controller is a bit thicker than normal, and plus you got your wires that are for your speed sensor and your temperature sensor on the motor that's got to plug into your module there. So you're gonna have to cut about, I don't know, what is that, 5 inches or so of this area to get it out the way. I expect you could probably cut a little less, but you've got to make sure you leave room for your golf cart's main harness to be plugged in as well. So I just kept it as close as I could to this side, which pretty good, worked out pretty good, I think. But yeah, now you can finish up getting everything plugged in and put the bolt back in your bracket on the front side of the cart there. And then at the end, you can just go along and tidy up all these wires, zip them up, and, make it look pretty. Alright, so now we've got our electronics area put together, mounted up, wired up. And we've got the cart side bolted back together, put back in its place. Got all our stuff zip tied up. Got our on-the-fly programmer under the seat. Customer wanted it to be out of sight because he will have children riding the cart, so he wants to be able to set it where he wants it and lock it. That way that they cannot go over a certain amount of speed of the parents' liking. So he also said that he wanted it to be kind of out of sight of them. Normally I don't think kids raise the seats, they just get on them and go because they really like to ride. So this will let him have full control over how fast they're going, which is another great thing about the Navita system, is that you can actually control it either through your phone on a Bluetooth app or directly through the programmer here. So alright guys, final stages here. Well, we're pretty much done. New batteries, new cables all across the batteries. They're the 2-gauge cables as well. If you see that red cable coming out right there? Now that's the main cable from your battery pack. Okay, so spliced into that is this plug right here. Okay, I was reading in the manual, it says to cut it off, and then there's a bunch of videos out there that says to cut it off. Well, to me, that makes no sense, because it's hard to see, but I'll get you in there. That pink wire right there is actually what plugs back into this on your main cable from the battery pack. Don't cut this off. You just plug it right back into the pink wire, because the pink wire feeds voltage to that fuse link right there, so that it feeds the controller the 48 volts into the wiring harness. Because I found out that without that pink wire hooked up, we get no battery pack voltage to the controller. So don't cut this off. Only if you have to. I didn't have to. I just was going by what the manual says, because I was trying to follow along with you guys on how this manual tells you to do this stuff. But don't cut that off unless you absolutely have to, because then you got to get back up under here, strip back the pink wire, put a ring terminal on it, and connect it to a wire that was already there to begin with. Just a little tip, guys. But you can see I've got it all wrapped up. Everything's tied up. All the wires are up and out of the way of the ground. I really, really, really like this kit. It's a super... That's going to be forward. There's going to be reverse. Now at the end of all of this, you're going to need to spend some time either doing your on the fly. You need to spend some time on the app, go into your settings, and you'll have all kinds of settings here for you to change. There's a diagnostic tool built in as well, so this, if a problem comes up, that right there will go to flashing and get brighter, and then you can watch everything happen on here as it is operating. Alright everybody, we are buttoned back up. Got our cover back on over the motor area. Got our batteries all squared away with our anti-corrosion spray. Alright guys, so there's your AC conversion from DC to AC driven. Pretty doggone straightforward, pretty easy to deal with. And of course big trucks have got to go by while I'm trying to make this video for you guys. But as always, man, hit those buttons, get that like, comment, share, subscribe to this. Appreciate all of you who have subscribed. Thank you for all the views. Thank you for watching these videos. And as always, God bless you all.